Hello, my name is Sean. You may also know me as Mr. Crispy on Twitter or Instagram or wherever you found me. But today we're gonna do a drawing of the wonderful, the luxurious, the stunning Claes Bang as Dracula. Because he is beautiful, I ain't gonna lie to myself. And if you don't think he's beautiful, you're lying to yourself. So today I'm gonna do a little tutorial on how to draw his face. And we're beginning by making a mask of his face. What is a mask, you may ask? Well, in my definition of mask, because I don't actually really know, I've heard it in passing, but I'm gonna assume that this is what people mean, is where you take someone's face and you turn it into a bunch of shapes. You try, the image itself is, it's a hard place to start if you're not an advanced drawer or you don't do portraits very often. It might be really difficult to figure out where to begin, and I find that by making a mask of the person's face that you want to draw is a really good starting point. So we're making a nice big circle for the top of his head. We're doing a little oval to show where the flat part of his head is, and then we're going to do a little line of symmetry just so we know where his nose is, the middle of his lips are, the middle of his chin, and then we're going to do a little oval for his ear. Because, that's all ears are. Just little ovals. And we're just going to do this for the entire photo. We're just going to make as many shapes as possible. We're just going to keep making shapes till there are no shapes left. And for you, you might see different shapes in different areas. So this is completely up to you on where you want to put your shapes. But fundamentally, you just want a couple of circles, little circles for the eyes, wherever the shape of the nose is. You just put your shapes anywhere, and doing this will help you dissect and get a better understanding of the image you're drawing. And you can do this for buildings, you can do this for objects, then you can do it for people. Making masks is a great way to understand what you're drawing, and it takes out a lot of the difficult work of guessing. And when it comes to drawing, you want to not only produce quality, you also want to be efficient at what you're doing and not spend hours and hours redrawing or going back to fix mistakes or finishing a drawing and realize something's completely wrong. And this is much easier digitally than traditionally. Sadly, traditionally, you don't have an undo button, so you might have to just keep drawing and drawing and drawing until you get it right. But that's not a bad thing, honestly, because the only way you can get better at drawing is by doing it over and over again. Now here I'm doing what is known as tracing, and the difference between tracing and a mask is that a mask, we're not going over every detail and every angle of his face. Tracing isn't very good, and you don't learn an awful lot from tracing. Honestly, there's not a lot of skill to be learned from tracing, and ultimately I feel like it makes the drawings look kind of flat and kind of not as interesting as they could be without your little flares, your little mistakes. The great thing about art is that no art is bad, not in my opinion anyway. Art is just whatever the person sees, interpreted in their own way. That's what makes art so wonderful. Those little mistakes when you're drawing, those little misproportions, whatever, they make that art yours. And if you're just tracing, it kind of eliminates that. It kind of takes away, that kind of aspect of the piece you're working on. And besides, like I said, you don't learn an awful lot from it. It's kind of like copying someone's homework. It doesn't help you in the long run. And I just think, you owe it to yourself to not trace. You're better than that. And, if you're going to go through all the effort to draw, you might as well, go all the way and not go half the way. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, back to the mask, the beloved mask. It looks hideous, but don't worry about it, because it doesn't have to look good, because this is just our foundation. Now you can draw directly on top of the mask, not on top of the image. You can draw directly on top of the mask, or you can redraw the mask on your other piece of paper or your other canvas, and that way you're really memorizing the mask that you drew. You can copy the mask directly, as in you can have the mask up and redraw it again, but I'm pretty familiar with masks at this point. I do a lot of drawings and I make a lot of masks. So I kind of have the fundamentals of a mask down already, but if you don't, I would suggest recreating your mask if you can, and then doing that. So here I'm just going to take the image reference of clays that I have, and I'm just going to start skadoodling. So when it comes to sketching, some people don't like drawing on a stark white background. It can be very daunting, it can be quite sore in your eyes, honestly. You know, white is pretty hard. So what some people do is they make it a different color. They kind of add a tan color to it, so that way it's not too heavy on your eyes and it's a little less intimidating to draw. And they also use different colored pens, pencils for the sketching. And you're probably thinking, why? Why not just going with black? Well, if you're doing it digitally, you use layers. I think some people do, most people do. So if your sketch layer is black and then your line work layer is black, it's really hard to differentiate where your sketch starts and where your line art starts and where they all end. It's really hard to differentiate. Whereas if you use a color for your sketch and then you go over it in black line, you know exactly where your sketch is and you know exactly where your line work is. And it just makes things a bit clearer, adds more clarity. It just makes life easier. And you can do this traditionally as well with colored pencils. You can do a really light red sketch and then go over it with markers or with whatever you're lining your work with. And I think it makes things a bit easier. That's what I've found anyway. You know, what makes my life easier might not make your life easier, but that's a little something that if you want to try, you can try. You want to try it out, try it out. Leave a comment below if you know what the try it out reference is. I'll love you forever. I'll send you a free print if you can figure out the try it out, because I love that. So now we're starting to sketch, and again we're making our mask. I'm making my life more difficult by redrawing the mask without actually looking at the mask, but it's following the same rules and it's just more practice. And as you can see, that little circle we made is now kind of that little top of his forehead. So you know that makes life easier, right? And there's two lines, one for his eyebrows, the other is for his eyes. And then there's a little line in the middle of the center line, and that's where his nose is going to go. And these are just rough estimates, and this sketch is purely just to figure out where things are meant to be. You know, that's what the mask is. It's not meant to look pretty. You can make things a little bit more detailed if you want, but I wouldn't go heavy on the details. Again, you don't want to get lost in the sauce. It's very easy to get lost in the sauce. You don't want to get lost in the sauce. So keep it very simple. Keep it very much just lines and shapes, again, just to give you an idea of where you need to go, where things need to be. And when we go on in the future to do our second sketch over your mask, that's when you go on with details, and that's when you add your own little things that make your art yours, and you know, whatever. So yeah, we're just gonna start sketching here, adding little bits and bobs, just trying to get his image together. And yeah, just more shapes. So many more shapes. I can't stress enough the shapes. Also, fun thing to note, if you don't know where an ear is meant to go, take a line from the bottom of the brow bone and drag it out, and then take a line from the bottom of your nose and drag it out, and that's pretty much where your ear is. That's pretty much where it should be. And you can do that with your finger right now. Drag it along. You'll probably find out that from those areas is where your ears are. Amazing. Science. Facts. Facts that will help your drawing. Facts that will make your life easier. And it's these little tips and tricks. These little tips and tricks that will make your life drawing so much easier. These are just what I find, you know. These are just little things that I do that make my life a little bit easier. So I'm just, again, I made a little mistake. I made an oopsie. But that's fine, because again, we're just sketching. And I'm just trying to taking a break from the face just so I can try and figure out the proportions of everything else. Try and get some shapes in for his shoulders and for the clothing he's wearing. I'm not going too detailed. Again, just trying to figure out where I'm going, where's meant to be where, what is what, and this is probably the hardest, but probably the less stressful part because you're going with the flow, and also it's really good for loosening up yourself when you're drawing. It's a really good way for loosening up your hand, giving yourself a little bit of freedom to make mistakes. And I enjoy this part. I think this is probably the most satisfying part. Even though it's, the foundation, it's probably the part that affects most of your drawing in total. Also, fun fact, if you don't know where to start the eye, if you take the very very end of your nostril and you just drag it up, that's usually where the very corner of your eye is. So if you don't know where to put your eye in a space like this, that's a little trick to know where to start it. I'm not entirely sure where you're meant to finish it, as you can see me trying. But you can kind of guess. You'll just have to guess. I don't have a trick for that. But I was also just trying to figure out where the kind of point of his eyebrow is, and the corner of his eye starts just a little beyond that. So again, we're using the shapes around us to figure out where things are meant to go, and that's basically just art. You're just problem solving. You're just trying to figure out where things are meant to be, and using whatever's around the object that you're trying to draw to try and figure out where something is meant to be. So here we are, our mask is done. It doesn't look fantastic, but it's good enough for now. And right now we're going in with our second sketch over, and this is where you're going to add your detail. We spoke about it earlier, but this is where you can start adding detail. And if you like your sketch line art enough that you don't want to do it again, if you're doing this digitally, you can clip it, you can make a new layer, clip it over the sketch layer, and then just go over it with black. And then that way, there's your line art. It's already done. You don't need to redo it. Yeah, it's already there. You just gotta clip over it and then merge down. Just like that. Some people that'll be common knowledge, but some people it ain't. So, I'm here for those people. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we're just doing our line art. For this, we're gonna maybe fix a few things that I didn't quite like in the lower mask, and yeah, just add those details that we want. So I'm gonna vamonos for a little second till you need me again. So enjoy this royalty free music. So here I am fixing the eyebrow, just fixing that, brother. Cause yeah, I didn't like where it was. I think they needed to be higher. Also, Dracula Claes Bang has the saddest wee eyes in this photo. The saddest wee eyes. And I think it's just because he's got like droopy eyelids, overhanging eyelids. Claes Bang, please don't watch this because I am analyzing your face. But yeah, so, and if you're doing a portrait as well, especially one that's like realistic enough for you to know who that person is, you kind of want your eyes to be pretty spot on. I'm using a lot of traditional portrait methods for this. It doesn't have to be that way. With illustration, you can use whatever style you want for eyes and stuff, but I like to make my illustrations realistic-ish. I follow a lot of realism techniques, and I like to try and make the eyes look as true to the original as possible because I feel like it just makes it more I don't know. It just tells me that that's that person. The eyes are the gateway to the soul, after all. And yeah, he does have the saddest wee eyes. Can you believe it? So yeah, we're just back to going over some of the lines we made, fixing some little bits and bobs. Still going back to the reference. We're not relying entirely on the mask below. We're also still looking back at the reference and trying to see what needs to be fixed, what needs to be changed. Uh, yeah, that's that sort of deal. Just yeah. And as you can see in the eyebrows, I've added little lines. That's just a little detail that I enjoy adding to my work. And I think it looks neat. Some people don't do it, some people don't like it. I quite like it. And also when it comes to colouring, it shows me where things need to be. And as you can see, I'm adding a little I don't even know what that is, a little hair thing, and then I was contemplating adding cat ears just to be fun. But that's the great thing about art. You can take this reference image and you can turn it into whatever you want. You can add things, you can take away things, you can do whatever you want. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing that we have. My cat can't draw. This is like a humans only thing. I think gorillas can draw. I think maybe. I think elephants can too. They're catching up to us. We gotta be careful. But art is wonderful, and not everything has to be realistic. Also, you can see here that I've made this line on the reference, and it's because I didn't want to guess how that line's meant to look. So I drew over the reference and then it showed me what kind of line I had to make on my drawing. That's also a really neat trick to do. Um, you want your work to be good, but you also want to be efficient. You don't want to be like redrawing stuff all the time, like I said before. Um, and yeah, that's it. This is it with the sketch underneath. And then that's it on its own. I think it turned out pretty good. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. He does look quite chonking. I might go back and fix it. But yeah, I enjoyed doing this. I thought it was really fun and I hope you learned something from this too.